We break down rookie minicamp and what you need to know about Trey Hendrickson next on the Unbearable Sports Podcast.
We're going to take the North and never give it back.
So that's a good pick. You get the corner. I got to go bold, right? I got to go bold for this.
Yeah, she's got some nice long
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're out there on YouTube and rate the show 5 stars everywhere that you get your podcast. What's going on? Happy belated Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Hope you all had a fantastic Mother's Day. So today, what we're going to be breaking down, like I was saying before, a little bit of the Bears news, a recap of rookie minicamp, but then also all the stuff going around with Trey Hendrickson. And I believe tomorrow or the next couple days, we're going to also get the Bears schedule. So we'll have you covered with all of that. And one thing that I always like that I do here at the show is when we talk about the schedule, we'll break down the actual advanced analytics with it all as we break down what's good, what's bad with some of these matchups. So let's get right into it and let's talk about Trey Hendrickson, because this is kind of the big news. This is the thing that's kind of buzzing around a lot of Bears fans. So Trey Hendrickson from the Cincinnati Bengals, not happy with his current situation. So naturally, as we do as Bears fans, we then connect the dots and we say, hey, Dennis Allen had Trey Hendrickson and now he's going to be a Chicago Bear, right? We're all hoping that he can be a Chicago Bear, but there's a couple little pieces I want to call out because Bears actually right now, believe it or not, have some of the least amount of cap space available to them right now. So let's say that the Bears want to make a deal. They would have to make some moves first, like either trade some players or trade some players as part of the deal, cut some players, or also restructure some contracts, which we really haven't seen Ryan Poles do anything like that ever. I can't, unless someone in the comments can correct me on this, I can't remember a time that Ryan Poles has actually restructured any deals, because Trey Hendrickson right now, if you traded for him, would be about a $16 million cap hit right now. Now, that obviously can change, and there could be other things that go on, but for better for worse, $16 million off the cap this year, and the Bears have $6.7 million free, which you got to clear up. You need to clear up some of that extra space for Hendrickson, and that's where it's not necessarily the most likely unless they restructure Jalen. So you can save some money by restructuring Jalen Johnson's deal to save 10, Sweat's deal to save 13, DJ to save 15.7, and Cole Kmet to save 5.8. You could also, like I said before, you could trade DJ to save 20 mil, Montez to save 21 mil, Cole to save 10 mil, Swift to save 8 mil, and Edmonds to save 15. And with all those two, the big caveat here, because you might hear that and go, oh, just trade this person, right? If you restructure, if you remember, this is what Ryan Pace would do, and also the New Orleans Saints. You kind of take the money now and you pay it later. So it's like a credit card deal where you're just saying, hey, we're going to pay this later on, and eventually you have to pay the piper, with all that money, and also that money becomes guaranteed. So that's why if you're doing something with DJ Moore, yeah, you can save up to 15.7, but how long are you going to have DJ Moore? Now that money goes out later on with his deals. So if you do decide you want to move on or anything like that, Luther Burton absolutely shines, so they want to move on from DJ and he doesn't like the new regime. Now you're going to have to pay for it later on. And also with the trades are always difficult to kind of talk about because a lot of the money, especially when you're trading, gets pushed to the following year. So right now, a lot of the money that we're seeing is just in this year, but there's going to be a lot of penalties if you end up trading. So you do have to factor that as well. I know a lot of people just see the 21 million if you trade Montez, but you just don't see the stuff in the future. The other piece too, you can also cut Ryan Bates, save 4 million, and cut Chris Williams and save 3.2. But the bigger picture, and we'll just kind of move on to the actual rookies after this. The bigger picture is just because there's a glaring hole at backup defensive end, because you have Montez Sweat, Dayo Odeyingbo, then your backups, Austin Booker, who you're hoping looks better. Then you have Daniel Hardy, who's only 240 pounds, very, very light. You have Jamari Croma, undrafted free agent, right? And you have Dominique Robinson. That's where it just feels like the Bears aren't done yet at that defensive end spot. And that's why us Bears fans are getting a little bit optimistic and a little bit like, hey, can this happen? My guess is it doesn't, because it would have to require Ryan Poles doing things that he just simply hasn't done, which is restructure or trade other players for players. We've seen him trade picks. Like that's right up his MO. But it's going to be the cap space swindling that he would really have to get done. So let's move on. And also actually another piece too, it could also help if they end up extending a player like a Joe Thuney, because you could also reduce his cap hit this year with that extension and then push that money later on. So another little option there to save some money. Let's go on to actual rookie minicamp, because the Bears had their rookie minicamp this weekend, and there's a lot of big takeaways, mainly with a lot of the rookies. I want to kind of focus in on the draft class, because we're also not really hearing a lot of these undrafted players. When we went through some of those, there's really not a lot of top names. Usually one kind of squeaks through, which I feel we might have like Major Burns or the safety out of Oregon. That might be someone that can actually stick around. But right now, or the kicker, Kim, let's keep on going and let's talk about these draft picks. And let's start with Azie Trapillo. Now, this is the big name. This is the big story because he played left tackle. And I want to kind of put it this way too, right? He also kind of turned a lot of heads because, for one, this is all the stuff that we've been talking about with Azie. He's a very, very educated guy. He's got a great football IQ. And like I've said before, he kind of reminds me of like Dan Skipper, a good swing tackle that you can have, very high floor. Just people were raging about his IQ, before the draft, and still to this day. Also, people were saying as well, you see the 6'8", and he's a legit 6'8". So just an absolute tower of a human being. But really, the big story was just the left tackle reps, which got a lot of us Bears fans saying, hey, is he going to be the starter at left tackle? So if you're watching, let me know what you think down below in the comments. Do you buy the Azie hype that he's going to be the starting left tackle? My personal take is I think the only way that he becomes the starting left tackle is if Braxton Jones's injury is more serious than expected. Now, this is no slight against Azie Trapillo. This is every slight against rookie offensive tackles. I had this same exact thing that I said about when the Bears drafted Darnell Wright. Darnell Wright, yes, I was like, yeah, obviously he should start. He should do something like that. But you don't see a lot of rookie offensive tackles have great seasons or above average seasons. Usually they come in and it's a very, very hard position to learn because the NFL level is just so great. Now, people, everyone's got the recency bias and says, look what Joe Alt, this amazing generational prospect, did. It's like, yeah, because he's Joe freaking Alt. No offense to Azie, but I think he's going to be, good. And I just think that, I think we're going a little far above our skis because even Ben Johnson said this, where we don't even have the pads on. But the thing to be excited about is Azie, from everything that we're hearing, you see the quickness, you see the speed, you see that even for 6'8", he kind of can bend down a little bit so that people don't get leverage on him. But still, that's all stuff you want to hear. I think the big thing is that competition at left tackle, you're going to have something there. And like I said, Braxton Jones has been a good offensive lineman or that epitome of right average / below average. So you need a rookie to then give you that better percentage. And that's why, if he can, heck yeah, I'll be pumped for that. But that's where I feel like a lot of people are just writing off Braxton Jones immediately. But this is someone that Braxton Jones is great at blocking in space. He's got speed. He's got quickness like that, which is what Ben Johnson wants. Obviously, they want Azie to be the best that they can be because he's got the long-term deal. But it's just, us fans, this is what we do. The fans will fan, and we want people to be amazing right away. But I said this with Javon Dexter. I said this with Darnell Wright. They're going to be rookies. Let them learn. Let them get better. And I think that it's all good stuff with Azie because it feels like he's going to be a good swing tackle at least, and then hopefully he can play up to kind of that Bernard Ryman ceiling that I've kind of like put on him, where I think he could be just a really good offensive lineman in this league. So good stuff overall, though, with Azie. But yeah, we're going to see this left tackle competition. We're going to hear about this even more and more and more. But next, we have to talk about the coaches, because the coaches also took a big headline with Eric Bieniemy being one that was consistently yelling at his running backs. And some people, he got Twitter kind of ablaze, like, is this good? Is this bad? Dude, this is one of those things where I kind of go back with Azie, right? We hear that Azie's tall and he's quick. Instantly, everybody goes, he's the starter. He's got to be the starter. And then we have Eric Bieniemy just doing some nice coaching stuff. And then people are like, is that too much? Is that too much? Just let the man coach. I'm excited for him. And the thing that I love that Ben Johnson is doing, that we're hearing, is Ben Johnson is more so just like in the background. He's letting his position coaches coach, and he's learning how they coach as well. And everything that we're hearing is that it might not be as quick, like from drill to drill to drill, as say like Matt Eberflus, but the drills themselves are a lot more engaging, a lot more intense of individual drills, more attention to detail. Obviously, when you coach rookies, it's a little bit different than coaching those veterans. So we'll see when everybody ends up reporting to those mini camps, just to kind of see how this ends up going. But it's just nice to hear that a lot of people were really just impressed that Ben's letting those position coaches coach. Absolutely love it. So let's keep on going, and let's talk more about some of the players, because we have to talk about Kyle Monangai. Because speaking of the running back position, a lot of people were impressed with Kyle Monangai, with his quickness. And yes, he's 5'8", like we've said, so a little shorter of a running back. But even in the little snippets that we saw, you just see the quickness, the speed. People came away like, yeah, he's different than the other running backs that they have, like those undrafted players. You could just clearly see it with his game. And like we've said, he's a very good player. Now I see yet again some people like saying that he's like this absolute steal. And we've said this on this show. I'm a big Kyle Monangai fan. I just think that he just does the job. He's a very aggressive football player. He can find the hole. He just will be able to run the offense for you. So to me, really big fan of Monangai. Nice to hear just good stuff out of him off of the quick little rookie mini camp weekend. But now keep on going. We got 3 more that I want to just kind of cover. And next is Luther Burton, where it was said from like Courtney Cronin from ESPN 1000 and many others that Luther Burton, caught a terrible pass thrown by Austin Reed that just went straight in the ground, but Luther was able to make a great catch and grab the ball. And also to seeing a lot of the little snippets of Luther Burton. And, when we were watching tape all together on this show, Luther Burton was one where in his sophomore season, you didn't see a lot of good routes. And then his junior year, you saw this giant step up in his route running. And I said it on that show, like when we were reviewing it, I'm curious to see if he makes another one of those big leaps in his route running. Now, it's too early to tell with a lot of this stuff. But you saw a lot of the quickness, people saying like he just moves different. And also Richard Hightower talking about, should he be a punt returner or a kick returner at the special teams level? Now, I know a lot of people are anti that. I want everyone to like get a chance, get a shot. Now, he should be a contributor, should be someone good on this offense. So yeah, that gets me a little nervous. At the same time, I love seeing the ball in his hands, and whatever it takes to make the team win. So to me, I don't mind it, right? I don't love it. I'd rather have someone that is more expendable than say like a Luther Burton. But that's someone that I just want to see. I just want to see the ball in his hands more, because he's just an absolute electric playmaker. And now, the last 2. So we've talked a lot of offense. We haven't necessarily talked a lot of defense. And Shamar Turner, I just want to talk about one little piece, because, with Shamar Turner, first off, people just blown away by his actual personality, walking over, rather than taking the cart, walks on over to the practice field. Just a cool little moment that they captured, just so that he can kind of soak in, like, this is his first practice. But the other thing that I want to talk about with Shamar Turner is, they said during one of the interviews that he's going to start out at defensive tackle. Not start, but start out at defensive tackle and then maybe move over to defensive end. Because this is something that I've talked about. I think that he will be a better defensive end than defensive tackle just because of his movement skills. He's just so special when it comes to his speed, his athleticism. And that's one of my biggest weaknesses with him was kind of that tweener role. Like a lot of times they kind of just like struggle to figure out where they want to be. But they told him they want him around that 290, so a lighter weight defensive tackle and penetrative like that. So I think it's still going to be fun to watch. I personally would have liked to see it more at that defensive end spot, but we'll see how they clearly have a plan for him at defensive tackle. And that also shows where defensive tackle, we have so much depth now with Grady Jarrett, with Trevon Dexter, Shamar Turner, Andrew Billings, then, third string Chris Williams and Zach Pickens. And then we also have Jonathan Ford. So that was just something that I wanted to bring up, that there was some talk about what would he be. But defensive tackle is what we're going to be doing moving forward. Last but not least, Ruben Hippoly. I want to talk a little bit about him because there's obviously a lot of praise just about his speed. But also too, Dennis Allen was talking about needing a specific type of player to play that Sam linebacker role. And that's really what Ruben Hippoly brings. Because of his speed, it seems like this is the guy that was like, even when he was picked, we kind of had a good feeling that this is someone that Dennis Allen really, really liked. And his calling card is that speed. And that is something that it really does feel like that's the reason why they wanted to bring him in. And that's why they also have kind of this vision for him at that Sam linebacker spot. So there's going to be a competition. They said it's going to be him versus Noah Sewell. Now we'll see, because Noah Sewell's been someone that we always wanted to see a little bit more of, but it does kind of feel like it's going to be Hippolyte's spot at that Sam linebacker position, because unless Sewell, we see him more. Like, we really haven't seen a lot of him in the preseason. We haven't seen a lot of him in training camps. But it really does feel like this is going to be Hippolyte's spot. And the other piece that they talked about him too is that he's very fast, and they kind of expect Sam linebackers to run with some wide receivers and tight ends. And that speed is very important for them. So just kind of adds a little bit more context for that specific draft pick. But for those watching right now, let me know what you think down below in the comments. Are you pumped up about certain players with Minicamp? Because we will have you covered with all of the stuff that is coming out with the schedule. So make sure to hit the like button. Also, if you're listening out there, make sure to rate the show 5 stars. It helps out the show tremendously. And with that, Unbearable Sports Podcast, we are out.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair, and you know that she's a